Lie down, oil my back. 4 words, broken Japanese. The American officer's shirt is already off. He's walking toward the wooden table in the center of the room. Takara's throat closes. She's 23, Imperial Army nurse, captured at Okinawa 6 weeks ago. She knows what happens next. Every woman in this room knows. The officer lies face down, arms at his sides, back exposed, scarred, burned, a ridge of shrapnel damage running from shoulder to spine. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out a glass bottle, sets it on the table beside his head. "Medical oil," he says, points at Takara, then at the bottle. "You. Now." Over 12,000 Japanese women served in military auxiliary roles by 1945. Fewer than 600 were captured alive. Takara is one of them, standing in a wooden barracks in the Philippines, holding a bottle of eucalyptus oil, staring at an enemy's naked back. Kore wa wanada kanarazu. This is a trap. It has to be. That's what the training said. That's what the officers screamed before the island fell. Americans torture. Americans violate. Americans don't see you as human. But Sergeant Caldwell isn't moving. His breathing is slow, controlled, like a man waiting for surgery. Beside Takara, Noriko, 19, signals operator, youngest in the barracks, presses against the wall. Her hands are shaking. She's whispering something, a prayer or a curse. The guard at the door, Private Wen, 21, rifle slung loose, isn't looking. His eyes are fixed on the window, deliberately. Why? Takara's fingers find the bottle cap. Twist. The oil drips onto her palm, cold, slick, smells like eucalyptus, and something chemical, something clean. She's held wounded men before, Japanese soldiers, dying boys who screamed for their mothers. She knows what burned skin feels like. She knows what healing requires. But this is different. This is the enemy. Face down, vulnerable, asking her to touch him. Karera wa watashitachi o dobutsu datu itta. They told us Americans see us as animals. So why is he closing his eyes? Why is the guard looking away? And why, when she finally presses her oil-slicked hands against his scarred shoulder blade, does he exhale like a man who hasn't been touched gently in years? The bottle is cold in her other hand. The room is silent except for his breathing. She's still waiting for the trap. It doesn't come. And that's when she realizes the trap isn't physical. It's something worse. Her hands move across geography, not skin. Geography. The ridge near his spine is Okinawa, shrapnel, definitely. The smooth burn patch below his right shoulder blade is napalm. She's seen that texture before, on Japanese soldiers, on civilians, on her own patients before the island fell. Sergeant Caldwell doesn't flinch, doesn't speak, just breathes. Takara counts the scars, 7 major, dozens minor. This man has been hit by her own side's artillery at least twice. Maybe the shells she helped load, maybe the coordinates she helped relay. Kare wa watashitachi no teki data. Demokizu wa onaji nioi ga suru. He was our enemy. But wounds smell the same. 82 days. That's how long Okinawa lasted. 110,000 Japanese soldiers killed, 12,500 Americans. The artillery exchange never stopped. Caldwell caught pieces of both sides. Now she's rubbing oil into the damage. Noriko is still pressed against the wall, watching. Her eyes are wet, but she won't blink, won't look away. Like she needs to see this, needs to verify it's real. Private Wen at the door still hasn't turned around. Why? The question loops in Takara's mind as her hands work the oil into scar tissue. Why isn't he watching? Regulations require supervision, mixed gender contact between POWs and guards. Someone should be documenting this. No one is. Caldwell's breathing changes, deeper, slower. The tension in his muscles releases centimeter by centimeter. He's falling asleep. The man who should be violating her, according to everything she was taught, is falling asleep under her hands like a child after a fever breaks. The oil is warming now, body heat. Her palms are slick. His skin is rough where the burns healed badly, smooth where the surgeons got to him in time. She wonders who treated him. American doctors, maybe nurses like her. Women who did exactly what she's doing now, touched the enemy's wounds and chose healing over hatred. Watashitachi wa ningen janai to iwareta, dobutsudato. We were told we weren't human to them. But animals don't fall asleep under gentle hands. Animals don't exhale with relief. Animals don't have scars that tell stories. Takara finishes his lower back, reaches for more oil. And then Caldwell speaks, not English, not broken Japanese. Perfect Japanese, accent flawless, tone soft. Arigato gozaimashita. Thank you very much. Her hands freeze mid-motion. The oil drips onto his spine. He sits up slowly, turns to face her. And what he says next makes her knees buckle. I lived in Yokohama. His Japanese flows like water. No hesitation, no American accent. He could be from Tokyo. Before the war, 5 years, I taught English at a school near the harbor. Takara can't move. The oil bottle hangs loose in her grip. Noriko has stopped crying. She's staring at Caldwell like he's grown a second head. My wife was Japanese, he says. Miyuki. She died in the firebombing. March, Tokyo. March 1945. Takara knows that date. Everyone knows that date. One night. 100,000 civilians, 16 square miles of Tokyo turned to ash. The deadliest air raid in human history, more than Hiroshima, more than Nagasaki, and almost no one outside Japan remembers it. Kare wa watashitachi no koto o nikunda inai? He doesn't hate us? Caldwell reaches for his shirt, pulls it on slowly, every movement careful, like his body still hurts in places the scars don't show. I requested POW medical duty, he says, after she died. Couldn't fight anymore, not against her people, not against, he pauses, looks at Takara, not against women who look like she did. The room contracts. Takara should feel insulted, objectified. He's projecting his dead wife onto prisoners. That's not kindness. That's grief wearing a mask. But his eyes aren't hungry. They're hollow. This man isn't looking at her body. He's looking through her, seeing someone else, someone buried in ash on the other side of the Pacific. Private Wen finally turns from the window. Sergeant? Need anything? No. Caldwell buttons his shirt. We're done. Done. Like it was a medical procedure, like she just removed a splinter instead of crossing a line she didn't know existed. Noriko speaks for the first time. Her voice is barely a whisper. Why did you ask us? Why not a medic? Caldwell's hands stop on his buttons. Because medics rush. They don't, he exhales. They don't touch you like you're still human, like you're still worth being gentle with. Yasashisa. Kare wa yasashisa o motomete ita. Gentleness. He was asking for gentleness. From the enemy. From women his country firebombed. From people his own generals called subhuman. And Takara gave it to him, without knowing, without meaning to. The oil bottle is still in her hand. She looks at it, looks at him. Tomorrow, Caldwell says. Same time, if you're willing. He doesn't make it an order. He walks out. And Takara is left holding a bottle that suddenly weighs more than it should. Takara waits until the footsteps fade, then turns to Private Wen. Why didn't you watch? Wen's jaw tightens. He's young, 21 at most. The kind of face that still has baby fat in the cheeks. He shouldn't be guarding anyone. Orders, he says. Whose orders? Sergeant Caldwell's. Wen shifts his rifle, uncomfortable. First day he came in, he told me, when I'm being treated, you look at the window. These women have been humiliated enough. Give them privacy. Noriko's breath catches. Kare wa watashitachi ni puraibashi o ateta. He gave us privacy. Takara tries to process this. American guard following Japanese-speaking sergeant's orders to look away during physical contact between male officer and female POWs. Nothing about this fits the script she was given. The propaganda, the training, the whispered warnings in every military briefing. since 1941. Americans don't see you as human. Americans will use you. Americans will discard you. But Caldwell asked, didn't order, asked. And when obeyed a command designed to protect enemy women's dignity. U.S. military protocol. Mixed gender contact requires documentation, supervision, witnesses. Caldwell violated 3 regulations tonight. Wen violated 2 more by looking away. Aren't you afraid, Takara asks, of being caught? Wen laughs, short, bitter. Lady, I've been afraid since I shipped out. Being afraid is the only thing I'm good at anymore. He pauses. But Sergeant Caldwell, he saved my life at Leyte. Carried me 2 miles with a bullet in his shoulder. If he says look at the window, I look at the window. Chuseishin, kare wa chuseishin okate ita. Loyalty. He'd earned loyalty. Noriko moves closer. Her voice is steadier now. Does he do this often? Ask for treatment? Every night. Wen shrugs. Burn's still hurt. Army docs gave him pills. He doesn't take them. Says the oil works better. Another pause. Says it reminds him of home. Home. Yokohama. A Japanese wife. A life burned away in 16 square miles of fire. Takara looks at the oil bottle again, still in her hand. She hasn't set it down. What was her name? She asks. His wife. Wen's expression flickers, something close to grief. Miyuki? He has a photograph, keeps it in his footlocker. He hesitates. Sometimes at night, when he thinks no one's listening, he talks to it. The barracks suddenly feel smaller, an enemy grieving a woman who looked like them, asking for gentleness from the people his country tried to destroy. And tomorrow, he'll ask again. Takara tightens her grip on the bottle. She already knows what her answer will be. 3 days later, Caldwell brings the photograph. He doesn't announce it. Just finishes his treatment, Takara's hands working oil into the napalm burn below his shoulder blade, and reaches into his shirt pocket. I want to show you something, black and white, frayed edges, a woman in a summer kimono, smiling, Tokyo Bay behind her, cherry blossoms blurred in the background. Miyuki. Takara studies the face. High cheekbones, wide smile, eyes that crinkle at the corners like she's about to laugh. She was beautiful. And then Takara notices something else, something that makes her stomach drop, the kimono pattern. Blue waves on white silk. She's seen that pattern before, not in a photograph, in person. She turns to look at Noriko. Noriko, who hasn't spoken during any treatment session since the first night. Noriko, who presses herself against the wall and watches with wet eyes. Noriko, who is wearing the exact expression Miyuki has in the photograph. The resemblance is impossible. Same bone structure, same eye shape, same slight overbite when she smiles, which she almost never does anymore. Caldwell sees it too. He must. His hand holding the photograph trembles slightly. Kare wa watashi tachi, no naka ni kanojo o mite iru. He sees her in us. U.S. POW camps held 5,424 Japanese prisoners by August 1945. Fewer than 200 were women. But how many of them reminded American soldiers of wives, sisters, mothers left behind? How many of them wore faces that triggered grief instead of hatred? Sergeant, Takara's voice is careful. Why did you show us this? Caldwell pulls the photograph back, tucks it into his pocket. His hands are steady again, but his eyes aren't. Because I need you to understand. He pauses, swallows. I don't want anything from you, not what you think, not what they told you. Americans want. He stops, can't finish. Noriko steps away from the wall, first time in 3 days. The kimono, she says. Her voice cracks. Blue waves on white silk. Caldwell freezes. My mother made kimonos in Yokohama before the war. Noriko's hands are shaking. She sold them to American wives, to women who... She can't finish either. The room shrinks to the size of a photograph. Caldwell. Noriko. and a pattern of blue waves connecting two women who never met, one dead in fire, one alive in captivity. Takara sets down the oil bottle. Something is about to break, and she doesn't know if it can be fixed. Noriko's mother was named Sachiko, 44 years old, kimono maker, Yokohama Textile District, dead since 1944. The words spill out of Noriko like water from a cracked vessel, unstoppable, messy, raw. She made that pattern, blue waves, her signature design. She sold dozens to American wives in Yokohama before Noriko's voice breaks, before the bombs. Caldwell hasn't moved, hasn't breathed. The photograph is still half visible in his pocket. Your wife bought one. Noriko points at the pocket. Her finger trembles. From my mother, before everything. Yokohama industrial raids. 8,000 civilians killed. 40% of the textile district destroyed in a single night. Noriko was 15, hiding in a drainage ditch while her mother's workshop burned. Now she's 19, standing in a POW camp, staring at a photograph of a dead woman wearing her dead mother's work. Senso wa kazoku o korosu, dochiragawa demo, war kills families, on every side. Caldwell reaches into his pocket, pulls the photograph out again, stares at the blue waves on white silk. I didn't know, he whispers. I never. Miyuki bought it at a market. I don't know which one. She just said it reminded her of summer. Summer, before the firebombing, before Okinawa, before any of this. Takara watches them both, the American sergeant and the Japanese girl, separated by war, connected by fabric. Sergeant, Takara's voice is low. Did you know she worked in the textile district? Did you know about Yokohama? Caldwell shakes his head. No, I swear, He looks at Noriko. I just wanted to show you who she was, that she was real, that when I ask for gentleness, it's not because I see you as objects, it's because we remind you of her. Noriko says it flatly, not an accusation, a fact. Caldwell closes his eyes. Yes. The honesty hangs in the air, uncomfortable, necessary. Noriko's hands are still shaking, but her eyes are dry now. Something has hardened in them. My mother made that kimono, she says slowly. Your wife wore it. Both of them are dead, and here we are. She steps forward, takes the photograph from Caldwell's unresisting hand, studies it. Miyuki's smile, Sachiko's waves, two women who never met, connected by silk and fire and the people they left behind. I don't forgive the war, Noriko says, quietly, but I don't blame you for her death. She hands the photograph back. Caldwell takes it, and for the first time since Takara met him, his eyes are wet. The next evening, Caldwell brings a wooden box, small, unvarnished, the kind of thing a soldier might carry across an ocean without anyone noticing. He sets it on the treatment table beside the oil bottle. I've been carrying this for 6 months, he says, since I recovered her things from the rubble. Takara's hands pause on his shoulder blade. The oil has warmed from her skin. Outside rain drums against the barracks roof. What's inside? Caldwell doesn't answer immediately. His breathing is uneven, not from pain, from something else. Open it. Takara wipes her hands on her uniform, reaches for the box. The lid lifts easily. Inside, 3 objects, a letter, handwritten, Japanese characters, unburned somehow, a wedding ring, gold, simple, and a scrap of silk. Blue waves on white background. Noriko makes a sound, something between a gasp and a sob. That's... She can't finish. From her kimono. Caldwell sits up slowly. It was the only piece that survived. The rest... He stops. The rest burned with her. Kare wakisoku o yabuta. Watashi tachi no tamni. U.S. military regulations prohibit giving personal items to POWs. Penalty, court-martial, dishonorable discharge, prison time. Caldwell doesn't seem to care. Your mother made this, he says to Noriko. You should have a piece of it. The barracks are silent except for the rain. Takara watches Noriko's face, watches the confusion, the grief, the something else she can't name. Why? Noriko whispers. Why would you give this to me? I'm your enemy. No. Caldwell's voice is steady now. You're a woman whose mother made something beautiful, and my wife loved it, and they're both gone. And this, he gestures at the silk scrap. This is all that's left of both of them. He picks up the silk, holds it out. Take it, please. Noriko's hands shake as she reaches for it. The silk is soft, fragile. 40 years old, maybe older. Blue waves on white. Sachiko's signature, Miyuki's last possession, now Noriko's. She presses it against her chest, doesn't speak, can't speak. Takara watches the oil bottle on the table, still half full, still waiting. And then the barracks door opens. Captain Morrison steps through. 47, by the book, rain dripping from his cap. His eyes find the wooden box, then the silk in Noriko's hands, then Caldwell's face. Sergeant, Morrison's voice is flat. What exactly am I looking at? The rain drums louder, and Takara realizes they're all about to find out what rules really mean. Morrison's boots click against the wet floor. 3 steps. 4. He stops in front of the table, studies the wooden box, the letter, the ring. Personal effects, he says slowly, given to enemy prisoners. Caldwell stands. His shirt is half unbuttoned, oil still glistening on his back. Medical supplies, sir. Medical. Supplies. Morrison picks up the ring, turns it in his fingers. This is a wedding ring, Sergeant. Part of the treatment protocol. Traditional Japanese medicine uses... Don't. Morrison sets the ring down. His voice is quiet, which is worse than shouting. Don't insult me. 7% of POW camp inspections resulted in court-martials that year. Morrison had filed 12 personally. He wasn't known for mercy. Takara's throat tightens. She should stay silent. That's what prisoners do. But she steps forward anyway. Medical supply, she says in broken English, for skin treatment, Japanese method. Morrison turns, looks at her. His eyes are gray, tired, the eyes of a man who's seen too much and judged too many. You're lying, he says, all of you. Watashi wa teki no tame ni uso otsuida. I'm lying for the enemy. Morrison's hand rests on his sidearm, not threatening, just habit. The posture of a man who spent 3 years making decisions about life and death. I lost my son at Iwo Jima, he says, 20 years old, my only child. The rain intensifies outside. Noriko is still clutching the silk to her chest. Do you know what I should do right now? Morrison continues. Regulations are clear. Court-martial. All 3 of you. Caldwell goes to prison. You two. He looks at Takara and Noriko. Transfer to a different facility. One that follows protocol. Caldwell doesn't move. Sir, if you'd let me explain... I don't want explanations. Morrison's voice cracks. Just slightly. I want to understand why a decorated sergeant is risking everything for enemy prisoners. Silence. Then Morrison does something unexpected. He takes off his cap, runs a hand through wet hair. My son wasn't killed by the Japanese, he says quietly. Friendly fire. Our own artillery. Wrong coordinates. Yujo no enshogeki. Kare no musuko wa jibun no gawa ni korosareta. Friendly fire. His son was killed by his own side. I blame the war, not the people. Morrison puts his cap back on. I still do. He picks up the wooden box, closes it, hands it back to Caldwell. Medical supplies, he says flatly. That's what I saw. Understood? Caldwell nods. Morrison walks to the door. Pauses. Don't make me regret this. The door closes behind Morrison. The rain fades to a murmur. Nobody moves for 17 seconds. Takara counts them. 17 heartbeats of silence before Caldwell exhales and sits down on the treatment table like his legs have stopped working. That was close, Wen says from the doorway. He's been frozen there since Morrison walked in. That was really close. Caldwell doesn't respond. He's staring at the wooden box in his hands. Noriko still hasn't let go of the silk. Her knuckles are white. He could have destroyed us, Takara says quietly. Why didn't he? Because hatred leads nowhere. Caldwell's voice is hollow. He said that to me once, after Leyte, when I asked why he didn't shoot a Japanese soldier who'd surrendered. Nikushimi wa doko ni mo, michibikanai. Hatred leads nowhere. Easy to say, harder to live. Morrison had lost his only son to his own country's mistake, and instead of transferring his rage to the nearest enemy, he'd chosen something else. Not forgiveness, not exactly. Something more complicated. Tomorrow, Caldwell says. Same time. Takara looks at him. You're still asking? After everything? I'm not ordering. He meets her eyes. I'm asking. There's a difference. There is. Takara understands that now. 4 days ago she heard his words as commands. Face down, oil my back, the syntax of control. But he'd never forced her. Never touched her. Never even raised his voice. He'd asked. And waited. And accepted. The oil helps, he says. But it's not about the oil anymore, is it? No, it's not. It's about hands that choose gentleness, about enemies who refuse to stay enemies, about a scrap of silk connecting 2 dead women through a war that killed them both. Noriko finally speaks. Her voice is steadier than Takara expected. I'll help tomorrow. Caldwell looks at her. You don't have to. I know. She unfolds the silk, studies the blue waves. But my mother made something beautiful, and your wife loved it, and they're both dead. And, she pauses, and maybe I can make something out of that, something that doesn't hurt. The oil bottle catches the lamplight, still half full, still waiting. Takara picks it up. Same time, she says. We'll both be here. Caldwell nods, doesn't smile. But something shifts in his expression. Not happiness, but something close to peace. The war is still happening. The bombs are still falling somewhere. But in this room, for this moment, 3 people have decided that mercy is a choice, and they've chosen it. October 1946, Yokohama. A train station rebuilt from rubble. Takara steps onto the platform. 24 years old now, thinner than before, but alive. Someone is waiting. Caldwell, civilian clothes, no uniform, no rank. Just a man in a gray coat holding a newspaper he isn't reading. He sees her, doesn't wave, just nods. She walks toward him. 18 months since the barracks in the Philippines. 12 months since the war ended. 8 months since she'd heard his name in a letter that found her somehow, forwarded through Red Cross channels and military bureaucracy. You came back, she says in Japanese. I never really left. His Japanese is still flawless, still sounds like Yokohama. Behind him, another figure emerges from the crowd. Noriko, 20 now, wearing a nurse's uniform, American Red Cross armband on her sleeve. She's carrying the silk scrap, blue waves on white, folded neatly in her pocket, but visible, always visible. He started a clinic, Noriko says, in the textile district, where my mother's workshop was. Takara looks at Caldwell. You're funding a clinic? Hiring former POWs, he shrugs. Japanese and American. Anyone who wants to help. By 1950, 340 Japanese women who'd served as POWs worked in Allied-funded medical programs across Japan. Noriko trained in Yokohama. Takara came back to teach. The oil bottle sits on Takara's desk now. In the clinic's main office, empty but kept. Kanojo wa kore o yonjunen hokan shita, she would keep it for 40 years. A reporter asked her once, decades later, why she'd saved it, why an empty bottle mattered. Because that was the day I stopped being an enemy, she said, and started being a person. Caldwell lived in Yokohama until 1973, never remarried. He'd found something else instead, a purpose built from grief. Noriko opened her own clinic in 1962, specialized in burns. The irony wasn't lost on her. And Takara? She stood in that train station in 1946, looking at a man who'd asked for gentleness and received it. Face down, oil my back. 4 words. Broken Japanese. That's how it started. But what it became was something no propaganda could have predicted. No training manual could have prepared them for. Proof that war doesn't have to destroy everything. The oil bottle was empty. But what it held, the first gentle touch between enemies, the choice made in a wooden barracks while rain drummed against the roof that never ran out. Takara kept it on her desk until the day she died. Some things are worth remembering.